Hey, friends, welcome to the Johnson City Living Podcast, where we learn about the people, places, events, and flavors that make Johnson City a lovely place to live. I'm your host, Colin Johnson, with the Colin and Carly Group and Keller Williams Realty. It is a beautiful summer day here. We're getting ready for 4th of July weekend, and I just feel blessed to start the weekend with a good friend of mine, Dave McCauley. He is founder, creator, visionary, and leadership coach at Summit Leadership Foundation. Dave, thank you for accepting the invitation to come on and talk about Summit Leadership and how it got going and how all that fun stuff.
Thanks,
so tell the
Colin.
audience a little bit about yourself, and if you want to tell them how we know each other, that might be nice too. So.
Well, I took a long route to get to Johnson City. So I was born in Toronto, Canada, moved to St. Petersburg, Florida at 13 years old, and moved to Johnson City in 1994. And I was on staff at Grace Fellowship Church for about 10 years. But kind of the history of Summit goes back to my time in Florida when I worked for Moody Bible Institute in St. Petersburg and worked with a lot of leaders in the community and saw a disconnect. People had certain passions and interests in doing things to change or serve the community, but didn't realize maybe somebody just down the street had the same idea. And so I just started just naturally connecting a few people and started seeing some cool stuff happen. And so I got this idea for an organization that would connect the right people and the right resources and encourage leaders. And that started in the early 90s down in Florida. And I moved up to Johnson City on staff at Grace Fellowship for 10 years. But then in 2004, it kind of just became time. And I decided to transition to start Summit Leadership.
Now, when you say it became time, I mean, that's probably the Lord like pulling on your heart to do it, or was it like you just said, "Okay, I'm going to do this thing"? Well, tell the audience.
So it's interesting. So
because if they have any like dreams or passions that are kind of they keep pushing down a little bit, like maybe it won't work or whatever.
So part of God's design in that is, Grace Fellowship, a fast growing church, got to meet a lot of people, got to do a lot of networking, got to connect a lot of people over that 10-year period. But my personality and style, and this was a fast growing church, is I got to be part of that, which was exciting. But my personality and style is to do a lot of different things, right? I like variety of challenges. And what happened as the church grew is everybody became more specialized in their field. So where I used to wear about 10 hats early in the life of the church, as the church grew and developed and we added more staff, I ended up wearing one hat. And I wanted to wear 10 hats. I wanted to do lots of different things. So doing the same thing day in, day out just didn't appeal to me. So it was kind of nothing wrong with the church. It was just part of the growth. It's just that it just didn't match my wiring. And I had this stirring passion. I kept saying one day, and this happens to a lot of people that have a dream or a vision of something to start. It seems so distant for so long. And then it just kind of the pieces started coming together. And I thought, well, if I'm ever going to do it, and plus I kind of hit midlife, right? And I read a great book by Bob Buford called Halftime. And I recommend it a lot to, men and women in their 40s, right?
It's a great book.
And it's kind of the idea is you can really make a difference in the second half. And when you're in your mid 40s, it's kind of probably a good time to start something.
Yes.
So I just read that book and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm there and I'm probably ready. I probably need to start something. So that was kind of part of the motivation. And so left staff, transitioned out staff at Grace Fellowship and literally started Summit Leadership Foundation at my dining room table, just me. And back in the day, Starbucks, Panera, we had Atlanta Bread Company.
Oh yeah, we did have ABC.
And those were my 3 locations every day. So I just kind of rotated around. I kind of waited till they started looking at me like you're here just a little too long. So the way I thought about it is I paid like $2 for office space and got free coffee, right?
They loved that.
Yeah. So that's
every coffee shop loves that guy who comes in for $2 and spends all day there.
So part of the story there too is our current executive director at Summit, who kind of replaced me. He's just younger, smarter, and better at doing things than I am. I was good at the founder stuff and getting it started, but the day-to-day operation stuff, Matt Overby, who's now the executive director, is just better at that. Well, he started the Starbucks in this area.
Yes.
So he came in to lead the area, and I got to meet Matt because of my coffee addiction.
I got to meet him there too.
Yeah, I mean at Starbucks, and so he came on our board at.
Well, he was a great connector too.
And he knows a lot of people. He was a perfect fit, personality-wise, and everything just fits well. So anyways, he was one where when we were looking for an executive director, our relationship just kind of transitioned, and so literally, this is an interesting thing too. Is I'm the founder at Summit. We hired Matt Overby to be the executive director. So literally, I hired my future boss.
Yeah, I thought
so.
That
Matt
was cool.
is technically my boss now, right? So
that's good.
He runs things, and
he does a good job.
But I recommend it. It's pretty good when you train and hire your future boss.
Well, and you knew I think we try and hire around our weaknesses, right? And so you knew you needed somebody more operational, and that allows you to be the dreamer.
Yeah. And dreamer, when you start having a lot of staff, can drive staff nuts too, because you have an idea every day, right?
Well, we talked about this the other day at the Five Voices conference that you put on for us, which was fantastic. And you guys do a lot of that too for the community. Like if you guys if you're interested in coming out to Summit, they're over off the Bristol Highway. They just bought a new building. But anyway, they offer a lot of training. And so you can come out and get trained. And then Dave will come to your office and train your whole staff for you.
Yeah.
For sure. You and Matt.
Yeah, we work with probably over about 200 organizations in the region, primarily businesses, nonprofits, and churches.
Yeah.
And so we have our space available, 3515 Bristol Highway. So you're welcome to stop by, visit us anytime. But we do 4 core services.
Okay.
We call them our 4 pillars. Connecting.
4 C's.
4 C's, right? Connecting, consulting, coaching, and caring. And where that comes out of is just connecting the right people and right resources, which was the kind of the early idea of how do you get people together that have a similar vision, but maybe a little different on their resources, maybe a little different on their background, maybe a little different on what they bring to the table. And then the consulting and coaching is what happens is, and I saw this in my own journey, is you get really excited about your dream. And we see what we refer to as telescoping. It's when someone who's visionary looks through the telescope and they see very, very clearly the future. Mm-hmm. The problem is it looks closer. It looks easier. It looks, it's in focus for them. But when they start sharing it with other people, everything's fuzzy.
Yeah.
Right. Because they're not looking through the same telescope. Right. And it's further away than what the person imagines. So the consulting portion is helping someone with their game plan and their timeline and the strategic plan, and to help them move toward their vision. It's out there, but how do we move towards it in a methodical way? And then the coaching is just coming alongside. So we think of coaching like a spotter for a weightlifter.
Okay.
The person that we're coaching is doing most of the lifting, the heavy work. Mm-hmm. They're doing the diligence, but we're there to help them. And when someone has a spotter or a coach next to them, they do more, they try harder. So just like a spotter with a weightlifter, you might feel like you're done, and the spotter goes, well, I think you can do 2 more, right? Yeah. Or they're there to steady the bar if you get in trouble. And then the caring part is something that we've just seen as something that is just so crucial, because leadership is hard.
Oh, man.
And a lot of people starting up or running an organization can get to a place of crisis.
A lot of pastors, I know you.
A lot of pastors,
was dear to your heart.
But it's true in every area. So it is pastors, but it happens in family-owned businesses. It happens with people in large companies where maybe they're having some dysfunction or problems, and then you just need someone to talk to. And so we do the caring services, and in all those kind of services we provide have a biblical word picture that we found in Exodus 17. And I love this word picture, but Moses had just led the children of Israel out of Egypt after 400 years of captivity. And when Pharaoh had them leave, he told them, he said, take whatever you want. Just get out of here. We need to get rid of you. Go. Take whatever you want. So they took gold and silver and fine linens and all sorts of things. So you have 1 million people. You can imagine this, 1 million people walking through the desert, holding treasure with them, gold and silver. And the one thing they didn't have was an army. So a guy named Amalek sees them. He has an army. So he sees all the gold and silver and everything. He's just going to take it. So he sets up to wage war against them. And that's when God tells Moses to stand on the summit of a hill out there in the desert. And that's where we get our name for summit, is from this word picture. So Moses stands on the summit of the hill, and he's told to hold the staff of God above his head.
But he gets tired, right?
Yeah, he gets tired. His arm gets tired. And that's when 2 other leaders, Aaron and Hur, come up, and they roll up a stone, it says, for Moses to sit on. One holds up one arm and one holds up the other. And together they accomplish what God called Moses to do. But in that, we see the services that we provide, the connecting, the consulting, the coaching, the caring. When they roll up the stone, they hold up his arms. And we see this one thing to be true, is God calls us to do great things, right? He's designed us for that. but he created us in a way where we cannot do great things alone.
Right.
We need other people, and we need to connect with them.
And we need to be vulnerable. I mean,
Yep.
I'm looking back on that story, and I just thought for the first time probably that Moses, either they saw it or he had to say, "Hey, I need some help, fellas." You know, like,
and he had to accept the help, right?
One had to ask for it probably or accept it, one of the two. So yeah, I thought it was just a great story how they came alongside him. And
so that's, so Summit, we see ourselves like Aaron and Hur. We don't
Right.
see ourselves as the
You're
hero
not
of the
Moses,
story, right?
Yeah, you help Moses.
So we look for people that are the Moseses, if you
Yeah.
will, out in the community and try to come alongside, whether it's a nonprofit or church or business, and how do we, do those 4 services for them,
Yeah.
to care for them, just like Aaron and Hur help Moses succeed. We want to help other people succeed in what they do.
So it keeps growing, keeps getting bigger. You keep hiring more people. You got a bigger building now, which is a cool story. You want to talk about the building, how that came about a little bit? Because I know 3 years ago, I saw a plan for redeveloping the building you were at over on Hanover Drive, and that didn't come to fruition. And so here we are. You got a whole new building.
Yeah. So we are building on Hanover. We tend to buy buildings in economic downturns. So we bought the building on Hanover in August of 2008 when the S&P was at its lowest. S&P is at its lowest point again, right when we're in this new building. So
I tell everybody,
so you just watch when we're buying a building, watch the market go to the bottom.
Maybe it's your fault.
Yeah. But the building we bought on Hanover Road back in 2008, that was a kind of a faith journey at that time, and partly happened because of the economic downturn. We saw the needs for the services we provide. Right. So kind of our word picture back then when we bought that building, because we didn't have any money back then. We, in fact, one of our great leaders in this community, Tommy Burleson, owned that building, and he was so gracious to us, and Summit would not be where we are today without Tommy Burleson.
Yeah,
and
Tommy's such a good dude.
His generosity and help and advice. And so he really helped us with that, getting into that building and being able to set up what we were doing and during a very difficult time. But our services were so needed. Our ministry about tripled during that year, and we had to add staff, and God just provided. So we outgrew that building probably about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we started looking at plans and get architect involved and drawing out what it would look like to build out that building, because we kind of got grandfathered in and we were limited on the amount of space we could use. I had a lot of storage space, but not a lot of office or meeting space in that building. And the cost to build it out was already high, but then after COVID, it almost doubled.
Yeah.
So it got to where it was just ridiculous. Right. It was an over improvement, and real estate world, over improving something doesn't help
make
you,
sense.
right?
Yes, right? It does.
So
There's
we just kind of
return point.
Yeah, we kind of got to the place where we were saying, we just can't do this. And out of the blue, a generous property owner out on Bristol Highway called us up and said, "Hey, I'm getting ready to put this building on the market. It may be a good fit for you guys. You want to look at it and see?" And we said, "Yeah," and very generously, said, "What do you think you can afford?" We told them, and they worked a deal with us, and it was a lot less than what it was going to cost to build out the current building. We still have to do some renovation in the new building, but when all's said and done, we'll have almost twice as much space as what we were trying to get in the building before.
Right.
And we'll be able to do it about half the cost total, which is amazing. And the new building, part of the vision of it is to serve more regionally. So as we get in that building and build it out and add additional staff, we'll be able to serve the region more. Rather than primarily just Johnson City. So we're excited about it, but it's totally a God thing. And when we look back on it, like all the growth of Summit, from my dining room table to where we are today in 18 years, it's just been God's provision and putting the right people in place at the right time and to help us out.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back. If you get probably down at times, like you kind of worry about where you're at or whatever, you have a huge history to go back to look at how the Lord has just been faithful and faithful and faithful and faithful. And I was just thinking about that for some of our listeners. Probably it's a good, if you ever, because sometimes you get worried about stuff, economic downturns and things happening in our world that are a little bit nutty right now. But I think it's nice to be able to look back and just say, you know what, I've been taken care of over and over and over by somebody who loves me and wants to take great care of me. And so it's neat to see him.
It's interesting how that actually loops back into the story about Moses, because, the children of Israel all through the time in the wilderness, even to the promised land, are just grumbling and complaining the whole time. And God's number one thing he kept telling them is remember what I've done for you. Remember how I've provided. Remember how I've delivered you. And it's kind of it's a message for all of us. We sit down and go through difficult time in life. Remember, what God's done before. During difficult times or hard times, particularly right now, we're going through crisis. We're going through everybody's tired of COVID stuff and the confusion and just, kind of what's happening in the world with gas prices and everything else. And you know what? God, this didn't surprise God. Remember the times in the past that he's been faithful. Yes. And I'm old enough now to where I've gone through several of these cycles.
Exactly. So I'm with you, bro.
I was in gas lines back in the 70s, sitting there waiting.
I was in a car seat in the 70s.
Yeah. No,
actually, we didn't even have those back then. I remember standing on the car seat. I remember riding on the bench seat with my arm on my dad's shoulder, just driving down the road.
Oh yeah, I'm old school on that. We used to lay as kids up on the behind the seat in the back window, and Dad would hit the brakes and we'd go flying off, and that was like fun. Yeah, not today.
Not today. Okay, well. Summit's awesome. Thank you for telling us, our audience, a little bit about it. Johnson City Living Podcast. You've lived in Johnson City a little while. What is your favorite thing about Johnson City?
I just never get tired of the mountains. So here, I'll tell you another quick story. I got plenty of stories, but
you got a few.
But we moved up here in 1994 in the summer. And I was on staff at Grace Fellowship, and we went back at Christmas.
My
wife and three sons,
and
right?
Three boys.
Susan, three sons, Ryan, Matt, Brandon. And we'd moved up here and went back to St. Pete, Florida for Christmas, but we drove on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Because of responsibilities at the church. That's just how it worked out. And so Christmas morning, we got up, got in the car and drove. Well, it's a 10-12 hour drive, right?
Yes.
About 12 hours. And so we had to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. The only restaurant open on Christmas Day is Waffle House.
Yes.
So we ate on that first Christmas in Tennessee, which was appropriate, I think, for living in Tennessee. We ate Waffle House, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that became our Christmas tradition.
That's awesome.
So every Christmas when we got up, we would get up, get ready, go to Waffle House for breakfast, and then come home and
took presents and stuff.
Yeah, I took Susan and the boys probably kicking and screaming some of the times, but it became our
tradition. Susan, we're going.
Tradition, so that became our tradition. But here's the key to it. We came back, and this is where we realized how much we'd fallen in love with Johnson City. We'd lived here 6 months, and when we left St. Petersburg to drive back, it felt like we were going home. And as we're coming up, driving up 26, I mean, that first view of the mountains, you just you're kind of getting, north of Columbia, you're looking, just watching for them. You get around Spartanburg, and then suddenly there they start emerging on the horizon. And I just remember that feeling of kind of anticipation, excitement of seeing the mountains. But one of the things that driving from here over to Asheville or back, going through the mountains, they look different every day. I mean, the different shadows, the different ways that the lighting's on them, and it's just
different foliage. Things will grow, things will die.
In Florida, you don't see that. It's
right?
Like you just,
it's just all flat,
right? So
more palm trees.
Yeah, more palm trees. But anyways, we love Johnson City. The people, the kids growing up here. This has kind of become home base. For them. So we've talked about, and you don't want to hear this, but we've talked about maybe selling our house, but the boys just voted down.
There you go.
They want that home base because we just hang on to it, and they're all over the world right now.
Yeah. Tell me where they are. I know.
So
Brandon and I are close, but I haven't talked to him in 6 months. So I don't.
All right. So we got our oldest son is a physician. So he did a lot of work with Doctors Without Borders. So he spent time over in Africa and Vietnam and Egypt and some other places. So he was all over the place. He's in Philadelphia now practicing. And so this is home base for him to come back. Our middle son is a civil engineer, and he works in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
For an engineering firm, Kimley Horn. So he's moved around a little bit between Dallas, San Diego, Las Vegas, but he's in Las Vegas right now. And then our youngest son, Brandon, his wife, Megan, and our two grandsons, Eli and Easton, they are in Spain, Rota, Spain, with the Navy. and Brandon was in the Marine Corps, got to rank of captain, and then decided to transition out of the Marine Corps. So now he just does business things, and his wife is a nurse in the Navy. So this becomes home base for them to come back. So we're having a little family vacation coming up here in August where they're going to be able to get some leave and get back, and we'll be able to all get together. But it's hard. They're all over the world. So here in Johnson City, this becomes home base for them when they come back and see some of their friends home. And it's that constant, I guess, with all the moving and different things that they're doing. So they all view this as home. So.
Well, being a visionary and kind of seeing things in the future, like you telescope as you do, what do you see telescoping for Johnson City? What do you see for the future of Johnson City in the next 5-10 years?
Yeah, I think this is something that I've anticipated for a long time since I moved here. And I do think it is starting to happen, is to see us come more together as a region. And I know for some that's can be controversial. It can be, do you lose your identity? But coming from St. Petersburg, Florida, and seeing what's happened with St. Petersburg and Clearwater and Tampa, it is all just grown together. You can't. You don't know when you leave one and go to the other anymore. And I see that. Jonesboro, I see that. Yeah, I see that happening. Yeah, Johnson City and Jonesboro is a good example. That is totally closed. I mean, you just go from one, you don't even realize when you enter the next. And I think that's going to happen throughout the county with the land that's out there. I think it's going to close up between Kingsport and Bristol, and we'll start feeling more regional in how we do things. I do think from
Highlands project.
I think we're really in favor of that with at Summit because of the collective population of the whole region being together. Just gives you a lot more leverage for drawing in industry, for quality of life options, for retaining people. The more things that we have within our region and see it together and promote it as a region, the more likely we are going to attract talent, retain talent, and I think we can do it in a way that maintains the values of this region and the family orientation of the region, and doing outdoor activities together and enjoying things that we have. And so anyways, that's what I kind of see in the future, is that I think expansion, I don't think it's going to be easy. But I think it's going to naturally happen, and it's just going to, start getting some more traction.
Yeah, and I think we got tons of people moving here all the time, and so I think we have to, I don't know the right word, but grow like responsibly or thoughtfully. Like we need to be thinking about the future, and I think we've got some great people thinking about that. John Hunter was on the podcast yesterday with the commission, and they're thinking about that. And so,
I think we can do it in a way where each community won't lose its identity. Right. I think
there's always going to be Kingsport, Bristol, and Johnson City.
You have to retain the identity and the uniqueness of each community and champion that. But when it comes to competing against each other, we're in the same boat.
Right.
So we got to be careful, how much we internally compete. We have to, I think, have a unified front for the world to attract the right companies, the right talent to this region.
Yeah, I agree. What do you like to do for fun?
Well, what I like to do for fun, and when I get to do for fun, I'm really not doing a whole lot for fun. It's actually, I hate that you asked me that question, because this is the thing I'm feeling most guilty about right now. I love golfing. I love sitting and reading a book. Love hiking. And the life has been such that I just, haven't been doing that in the last year. Just a lot of different things going on. And with some family things that we've had to deal with my mother, and with other challenges that we've had with moving in the new building, with Summit did a big event at Freedom Hall here with Tim Tebow and the 413 teen leadership group that we have led that. So there's just been a lot of things going on. And so now it's, I was just this morning thinking about that, is I've got to start getting some of that,
calendar it in, like a podcast appointment with some jerk, just
some golf. Right. I was going to go golfing this morning.
Right,
I had to do a
Go.
podcast.
Thanks. Yeah.
But, golfing, hiking, so I always say that if I golf, I get to do hiking in the woods too, as part of my, it's like I get to do both.
That's right. I get in a lot of hiking, looking for my ball in the woods. That's great. Where do you and Susan like to go eat dinner when you're going on a date night?
All right. So we got several places around. So, the Firehouse restaurant with Tom.
Yes, I've been working on getting them here. They're just too busy.
Oh yeah, they're busy right now, and great place to work, by the way. We'll do a little promotion
That's
for
right.
them.
If you are looking to move to Johnson City,
yeah, you want a great place to. Oh my
on.
goodness,
Oh,
you talk about a great culture, great place to work.
Those guys are fantastic.
They just need to do
they
it.
They are fantastic.
The other one that we do the primarily the drive-through is our Chick-fil-A's in the area, because that's one that we really like to support and be part of.
Yes.
But for downtown Johnson City, Raphael does a great job.
He does.
With Label.
Have you been to the new place? Chow?
Yeah, I ate it there. Yeah, Susan and I just ate there just a couple weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, that was excellent. And and craft barbecue and the burger.
Mm-hmm.
Burgers and barrel opening
burger.
Up excited about that.
I'm excited about that.
And so think about, we got great restaurants downtown and all throughout the city. One of the ones that Susan really likes is over in Jonesboro's the Black Olive, and they just opened the Olive downtown. Johnson City, which is another one. So we got Main Street Pizza, both here and in Kingsport too. They got one. And,
they're good.
I mean, we
know where they get places to eat are. Yes,
we got lots of them.
We got tons of options.
In what
we like to eat in East Tennessee.
Oh, you know what happens to us though? We'll go to another city and we'll eat at a cool place, and we think, man, this is really nice. Why don't we have one of these? And we can easily think that we don't have. I don't know. There's something about when you're out of town and it's the first time experience that it feels exciting. And then I start thinking about it. People are saying the same thing about the places we eat.
Yes.
In Johnson City.
And that's why you go somewhere else to experience something different.
See something different.
Yeah, that's fun. Being a coffee shop past patron on a regular basis, what's your favorite coffee shop in the area?
Well, I got to promote Open Doors just for the work that they do.
Just had coffee. I got our coffee from there. I saw Miss Marion in the drive-through, and love Open Doors and Rise Up.
And not necessarily in Johnson City, but Elizabeth and Coffee Company has been one over the years that just served the region really well. We've got several other little coffee shops around. I am a Starbucks fan just because of the quality, but I'm telling you, I've been surprised at the prices. I'm coming out of there because I pay for it on an app, so I don't always pay attention. That my cup of coffee just cost me $3 and it's just black coffee, and I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I don't know. So I'm making it at home. So you see my cup. I got like a 24-ounce thermal coffee cup, and the reason I have this is my doctor told me I need to cut down to 1 or 2 cups a day. So I just got bigger cup.
Yeah, you can. It takes 2 hands to pick that up.
But so I've gotten it like with the cost of coffee in these places. I just grind my own beans and brew it at home and put it in a 24-ounce cup, and it does me for the whole morning.
Well, I didn't know you grind your own beans. I'll get Juan Carlos to bring you some Honduran coffee. They just came back from Honduras, so I'll get you some good coffee.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
What else? I know you've got a busy morning. What else do you want to share with the audience about Summit, or about what you guys are working on, or anything, or how? And then we'll talk about how to connect with you.
Well, I think some of the exciting things that we have coming up is we're really excited about our 413 youth leadership program, right? And we've got TR and Carla Dunn that lead that effort, and the whole concept behind it, and the reason it's called 413 is from Philippians 413. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And their subtitle is Teens Doing All Things.
Okay.
So what TR and Carla have designed with this, through partnership with Johnson City School System, we have 24 students that are on the leadership team advisory committee, right? They plan everything. They design everything. They just did, I think it was last night, or the night before, they just did a paint therapy session or something with teens. Had like, I don't know, 50 to 100 teens there or whatever.
Wow.
Splashing. I don't even know where they did it. It might have been at the Summit building. I saw the pictures, but they were literally splashing paint. They had more paint on themselves and on the walls, but it was a way to release stress and tension. And it's apparently a paint splash therapy thing. And then they've got a huge back to school splash event at Rotary Park coming up at the end of July, right before school starts back, expecting about 2,000 people at this event.
Wow.
Have all sorts of food trucks, talent shows. And it's in partnership with the city of Johnson City. But those entire TR and Carla kind of guide the process, but the teens plan it. The teens do it. Everything from promotion to the ticket sales.
So you're building up leaders by having them.
So you're training them. So they're doing things like having fun. They call them their pillars: fun, fortitude. So they're teaching them how to be diligent on preparing for college, on their finances, on getting ready for the SATs, having plans in life. They do family, emphasis on relationships. With each other, and then faith is is a pillar. So it is a faith-based group, but it's also very open to anybody from any kind of background. So we do have a faith component to it, but it's very inclusive, if you will, of any teens that want to come in. So we may have a Bible study or a prayer meeting, but those are all optional for everybody. There's no pressure for anybody to come to those, but we do have a faith component in it. But students can participate in any of the, and they're reaching.
I think it's a great program,
and it works in conjunction with things like FCA and Young Life and the other organizations that are in the First Priority and other organizations, or Coalition for Kids, or Rise Up.
That's what I was thinking.
This is an organization that just the teens can come to for the leadership and to design around certain events or certain resources. But they're wanting to, and it's part of the summit model, be integrated into all the other organizations and be supportive of them, not in competition with them. So we're hoping that as 413 continues to develop, that it'll introduce these students to some of the other teen organizations in the area too, that they may want to get more connected with, and hopefully through some of the development, they have some leadership skills that they can also take into those organizations, or from this maybe go to a FCA camp or Young Life camp or whatever.
You'll become an FCA leader or FCA, Young Life leader later on. That's kind of the career in the ministry. You know,
that's kind of the hope for what we're doing with that. So that's something that we're very, very excited about.
Yeah, that is really cool. Anything else you want to share about?
Well, the other final one that I'll share with you is we had 30 acres of farmland donated to us here about 3 years ago now, with the express purpose of using it for people with special needs or disabilities. So we're slowly developing it. It's out in Gray, runs along Highway 26, and it's called Trinity Grace Farm. And we've dug a pond that's not holding water. So anyone out there, if you know how to get a pond to hold water,
my buddy Brian, he dug a pond and it holds water.
Water. So we got to figure out how to get the pond to hold water, because it's kind of hard to fish.
Just plug the hole in the bottom.
And then we put in a road. We've storage buildings. We've got some equipment out there. We're getting ready to build a pavilion. Trying to get a well drilled, which is a long process right now. Getting that done. So we're slowly working on developing that property and having volunteer groups out there. So if anybody's interested in doing a volunteer outdoor project, everything from helping us build some trails to cleaning up some debris to painting some structures we have out there. We've got all sorts of opportunities there, but we're excited about that project. But we got so much going on, right, that it's kind of pacing it and focus. But again, remember back to the church days where I only had one hat. This is what I love, is when we got about
15 different things going on
and I get to wear I just get to keep switching the hats. That's kind of how I'm wired.
How do our listeners connect with you if they want to go paint a building or work on the farm, or come to Summit and learn more about how to lead their team well?
So the website for Summit is summitlife.org. So SUMMITLIFE.org. And you can email at contact@summitlife.org if you want to just do that, or if you want to call us 423-283-7557.
Okay.
And when we got that, by the way,
below as well.
7557 is my 75 is the year I graduated, 75.
Nice.
57 is the year I was born. So
that's
how I remember my phone number. It could have been in the other order, but I graduated in 75 from high school
57.
And I was born in 57. So I can, that's how I remember that phone number.
You were like 40.
Yeah, well,
you look 40. So I guess I don't know how
my brain tells me, but then it reminds me. My body reminds me that I'm not. But
that's awesome. All right, last thing, what gets you fired up? It's Fired Up Friday.
What gets me fired up?
What gets you fired up?
What I get most fired up about is somebody sharing their passion when they're really excited. So what I love is a wild, crazy idea that somebody has that they want to do in life. And what fires me up is then trying to figure out when they telescope something in the future that looks impossible.
Yes.
and I get to sit there and start helping them figure out how they're going to get from here to there. That's what fires me up, is to see someone with that level of passion and excitement about.
What do we used to call it? The BHAG, the big
BHAG,
hairy,
right?
audacious goal.
It's crazy. Usually it sounds crazy, and that's why they haven't shared it with other people. But we like crazy ideas.
Yes, we do, for sure. Well, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I enjoyed our conversation, and I hope you guys, as our listeners, have too. Dave and their organization at Summit is awesome. So I'd tell you to connect with them. We've been blessed by that organization for years and years. Until next time, I'm Colin Johnson with the Colin and Carly Group and Keller Williams Realty. Holler if you need a house, or you want to allow us to do property management, or you want to make Johnson City your home. We would love to help you make that happen too. Thanks so much. Have a great 4th of July. Love you guys. Bye.